say to you that tribal sovereignty, I believe, is at the core of having a good civil rights policy in this country. Because civil rights is not just civil rights per se. It's education, it's indigenous languages, it's health disparities, it's housing. I know you're going to cover all of this today. But I have been especially proud of the improved government-to-government relationships that we have, the state government, with the tribes and pueblos of New Mexico. Why? Well, first, we're the only state that has a cabinet-level Indian Affairs Department. The only state. And, in these days of cutting government and budget deficits, sometimes you get those attacks. But I did this early. And we have a Secretary of Indian Affairs, Alvin Warren, who's the male Wilma Mankiller. He is aggressive as Wilma was. And he has led the charge with a very strong team here in New Mexico. But we have the Secretary of Indian Affairs sitting in the cabinet with everybody else. We passed the State Tribal Collaboration Act, which is the most far-reaching legislation of its kind in the country, which provides a framework for the tribes and the state to get together and deal with issues that benefit our Native American citizens. We have a high-level summit every year. It's mandated. I have to attend the summit with the state and the cabinet. And we do this not just once a year, but in a variety of forms. 22 tribes and pueblos have immediate access to me, the governor of the state. What else do we do here in New Mexico? Indian Education Act. We're the first and only state to have a comprehensive Indian Education Act. And when I came into office, I found that not only did we didn't have an Indian Education Act within our state system, but a lot of our indigenous teachers have left the state. The teachers that teach Native American language, Tiwa and Navajo. So we made a massive effort to recruit them back. We now have an Assistant Secretary for Indian Education Bureau to better serve the Navajo, the Jicarilla, the Zuni, the Lagunas, and Acoma Pueblos. We recognize the importance of the 8 indigenous languages here in New Mexico. We've signed memorandums of understanding with 16 tribal governments, respecting their right to certify who can teach their native language in public schools. To support Native Americans succeeding in higher education, we also have passed the state law, an American Indian Post-Secondary Education Act, and have an Indian Education Division in our higher ed department. We also had 2 Native Americans in my cabinet, positions in government, boards and commissions, 65 in the most powerful commissions. In fact, sitting here is one member of the Transportation Commission, Greg Ortiz, who sometimes was criticized because he only wanted to build roads in Native American communities. But he was so strong and so effective that we kept. Now we have Navajo. His term ended, and these are some of the most powerful commissions in the state. Here's what I really was proud of. My last act, my last legislative session. We created what is called a Tribal Infrastructure Fund, which basically designated funds for infrastructure for our tribes, water systems, roads, but mainly sewer and water problems, because you know how serious a problem the water issue is in our state. But it wasn't a dedicated source. We just created the fund, and I proposed $10 million every year. The legislature cut it 6.5. But what we did this last session is we passed a mandated 5%, so that in the future of any infrastructure funds that the state has, 5% of that goes to Native Americans, besides the other projects that a governor or a state legislature can do for their constituencies. So I'm very proud of what we've been able to do. Healthcare is an issue that has always bedeviled us because we wanted to have Indian healthcare at the state level, but this was very tough to pass given the fact that at the federal level we still didn't have a Native American health improvement. Now there is one, and hopefully the next legislature will address these issues. So we settled our differences. Gaming negotiations. We're the only state, I think, that has compacts where the Native American tribes benefit and the state benefit. We negotiated that 6 years ago. We've negotiated water rights settlements. Navajo, Gallup, the Amat case, Taos. We resolved them. And this was after some differences in the past. So I want you all from around the country to recognize that when we in New Mexico say we've kind of been at the forefront, is that we have. And I know that we still have to do better. I know that those promises that politicians make of dialogue and partnership, by the way, I don't like the word partnership. Everybody uses it. We got to come up with a better word, like friends. Partnership sounds like bureaucracy. I don't know what other word. That's up to you to find in this conference. But I want to just say again, I think this conference is very timely. And I see faces of diversity here. And I think that's what's important. It's not just federal agencies. It's not just our Native American community. It's everybody. It's legal scholars. It's those of you that work in government that sometimes are not appreciated. And to all of those of you that work in the agencies, whether it's Justice or Department of Education, or even the BIA. The BIA needs a little boost. How many BIA people here?
All right.
You're okay now. So, I want to close with, once again, recognizing the pioneers, the Wilma Mankins. I know his daughters are here. Are you two here? Stand up, please. Give them a nice hand. You've got a real legacy. I think your mom will want you to be in public service. Forget about making money. No? Right here. Well, your dad's a wonderful guy. I know that your family will carry on. So, with that, as I approach my last 5 months, the area of Native American issues and developments that we've had is going to be one of my proudest legacies. So, the best to all of you. Enjoy yourselves. I'm sorry I can't be at that listening tour, but again, I appreciate all of you. To UNM, thank you for hosting this great event. Good. Thank you.